So I mean, with all of the things that you guys have been stepping into one small step at a time, and I'm sure that comes with great challenges as well as just like really rewarding things as well. What are kind of some of the most, or one of the most challenging, things that you face, and maybe one of the most rewarding? And often those are kind of the same thing, but
yeah, I think probably one of the most challenging thing is that things never feel like they're moving as fast as you want them to. But the most rewarding is when you do see one of the women expressing something that you've been speaking into their life, or taking some little steps forward that maybe a year ago she might not have done. Just for example, one of the women, she actually, when we met her, she had an ankle bracelet. She was supposed to be on house arrest. And she had wrapped it in foil so she could still leave the house, because she had 2 kids to feed and a mom with depression. And so
very resourceful.
So she actually, she's done her time. She, finished out her sentence and everything. And then the government actually has a program where you can register to get a possible job through the government for people who are, who've been incarcerated, who are out. And she got herself to where she needed to go to register. She did all of those steps, which I was impressed with, because a lot of the times anything like that, it's like there's so much going on up here that doing something like that just doesn't happen. So I was pretty impressed with that. Anything else you want to add about rewarding?
Well, I think one of the
Phil, do you have something specific to you?
The hardest bits to get used to is not getting super disappointed when you do certain things and you put opportunities in front of people and they don't take them. It's trying to understand. I can't understand the trauma and the stuff that these girls have been through. So I have to understand that it's not ungrateful, or it's not when they don't take opportunities that we're trying to help them with. It's just a process. It's just you got to work through it. You got to understand. You got to okay. So if they don't take this opportunity, then we've got to go further back and find out how can we help them?
We'll give them more.
Understanding how to help people is the hardest part. Because you can say, hey, look, I've done this, and here's a job. And they may, no, I don't want it, or I'm not going to take it. And then you feel well, why wouldn't you? Yeah. To me, it looks like a great idea, but I'm not inside their head. I can't understand where they've been and where they're coming from. So that's the hardest part, I think, is just trying to understand better how you can help.
And it's very much playing the long game. Like, it's realizing that the actually probably the most impactful thing that you will ever do for these women is stay. And not walk out, and not whether or not they take the opportunities that are put in front of them or not. It's the staying and being consistently authentically present. But that is that can feel like the least rewarding thing ever. So probably what some people may or may not know is that our coffee company and your organization, Hope Ministries, are partnered together for the last year. And a portion, actually, I have a little surprise for you. As of this year, all of our profits are coming to you guys. There's been a little shift in what we're doing locally. So for the time being, because that's in a very transitional period, we are going to be funneling everything, which I've been feeling for a while, but had the big discussion with our team, and they were like, yes, absolutely, that makes sense. Bless
awesome.
You go. So,
oh my goodness.
So yay. So all of our profits, you're the first to know.
That's amazing.
So I'm really, really excited about that, because I really do feel like a lot of things, we're coming to being able to actually start some of the things that we have been dreaming and wanting to do. But right now, all of our profits are going, our percentage of our profits are going to your ministry. And we are stoked to be doing that. And I guess what we want to know is, what does what does the partnership, what does that mean to you guys? And does it mean anything? Does it matter? Like, you know, like sometimes you wonder if where you're like, our clients are buying our coffee and they're doing it because they have this heart to make a difference. Well, does it? Is what everyone wants to know, you know? So please be honest with us.
Absolutely.
I mean,
it absolutely does.
I give it a good way of describing this is when we first moved to Jean Pesseau, we didn't have the funding we actually needed to move here. So we went on furlough. We were back in Cambridge talking to people there.
Even when we had tickets to come back, we still didn't have the funding.
We knew that God was supposed to send. So, but when we spoke to people, we actually be very honest with our church kind of thing, because we started getting questions from people thinking, you know, our church gave us this huge funding and everything was paid for this. And so then the best thing we did with our fundraising stuff was we actually did a pie chart. I say we, Jen did the pie chart. And it showed where our funding came from. And there was, you know, we have a couple of churches that do help us, but at the time, I think it was 85% of our funding came from individual donors, like small funding, you know. So it was, you know, so people would say, oh, well, I can only do this much, or a little bit. It won't make a difference. No, it made 85% difference.
That's like, so good.
And that's just the financial side of it. That's literally just the physical financial side, that we couldn't do any of this without that financial side. But what comes with that financial side is the accountability and the responsibility to us, to our donors. That's our team. That's all part of this huge team that we have. It's not just us here.
Yeah, we know we're not alone in this, right?
And that makes a huge difference. We've seen, we know of other, you know, missionaries that have come that have funded themselves and they've been lucky enough to be self-supported, and it doesn't work. It doesn't last very well. You need that much bigger team of people that are taking whatever they can afford to send to you to be able to do this work. And it's a huge blessing for us to be able to do this. It's a real get to, not a have to.
Absolutely.
But we know we're responsible to those and to you and to you people that buy your coffee. And, you know, so that every tiny little bit keeps us, like, what keeps us going.
We had, like last year, you know, we had a near burnout, being real, sometime in January. And I mean, there's a whole backstory to that has very little to do with the actual ministry that we're doing. But we would not have gotten through that without knowing that we had the support and the prayers of all of the people that are in Canada, in the US, wherever people are. We would not have been able to get through that. We knew that we had, first of all, obviously Jesus carrying us, but that there's this huge, you know, this, well, it's not huge, but it's a big pool of people that, you know what I mean, that are supporting us, that have got our backs, and, you know, supportive emotionally as well. But yeah, it 100% makes a difference, because we can't do what we do. We can't go rent a house and make snacks and do all the things that we do without that support. So absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. So I want to just kind of let everyone in on a little bit of our corporate dreaming here on kind of what we are hoping to do in the future. And this is all very like conceptual, and I very much understand where you're coming from with the like, here's the big idea, and I'm like, hey, here's the like 6 things we're going to do to get it done, and like all of them will fail, and then I'm like angry, and then all of a sudden like something happens and it just works. And so like last year I was supposed to come see you guys, be in Brazil, scout out the scene, and so like part of what we're wanting to do is this kind of sustainability project of actually opening a roasting and coffee something to also like that the girls can work in if they want to. And like, I mean, what do you like, what's kind of your side of that, of what you kind of are hoping that will do? I mean, this is yay what we want to do, but like, what does that look like? What would that mean for you guys there if this happens at some point?
Eventually.
Eventually.
Yes,
I mean, since the very beginning of the ministry, God's always given us a bigger picture down the road, and it's just more like putting us on a leash to keep us in step with Him, like I said. But part of that dream, long before we met you, long before we knew anything about Wild Ginger, was that we wanted to have something alongside of the ministry that's a business that will help to sustain the ministry within the country, and also provide employment for women who want to get out. So I mean, it's a perfect marriage, really.
And
So
that's like all we want to do. So like I
Exactly.
thought that it was going to be in Africa, to be honest. So like I don't even know. There's so many ways I thought this was going to look, and I didn't know what it was going to, and I still don't really, but anyway.
Yeah. It's like God plants a little seed in our heart, and we kind of paint a picture of it, but then he goes,
well,
no, but it's going to be good.
But it's gonna be, that's the thing, is it's always amazing in the end. You know, even if it doesn't look anything like
almost
any
never.
of us thought it would. Yeah, literally never. Not even almost a little bit. It's always so amazing. So I'm really, really excited to hopefully keep moving towards that, and hopefully be able to come down and be able to set that up and have employment opportunities for women. And that's a big part of, you know, what we're doing with our percentage of what we're wanting to give back, is to eventually, you know, be able to do things like get a roaster and do the things that we can do and actually come down. And I mean, you live on the beach, so I'm not sure what I'm waiting for, but I mean, I'm sitting on the beach in my backyard right now, but it's not the same. There's way less water.
I've seen your beach.
The kiddie pool is small.
I mean, our big plans, when we talk about the residential program, along with that, our big plans is we'd love the project to be as much self-sustainable as it can be. And the sort of the main part of that is businesses. We want to be able to, I mean, we know we're not business people, but we know there's people like yourself that do run businesses that are willing to get involved. And I'm sure, and we know there's people here as well that
we already have somebody in mind.
Yeah, we've got some people in mind here that
He's been warned.
Entrepreneurs. But we would love, we'd love for the things like the coffee business or any other businesses we can actually get involved and run to help support, or ideally completely support the project.
And then any amount of like work experience for the women too, even if it's not something they want to do for their whole lives, it's like you build a resume, you get experience, and you have a reference, and you like learn this. It's just all, you know, part of that. And maybe it is something they want to do forever, but maybe it's not. And that's why you need, I love that. Like that's something I've often thought, is having like a myriad of choices of things where you can work in this place for this X amount of time or longer, but this is the kind of like, this is how long you work, and you get like a whatever, this experience, you have this much experience, we can write, and you want to move on to something else that's fantastic. Yes.
You got something,
and you might learn something that you didn't know. Like, how many opportunities do these women have to try different occupations, especially as single moms with kids? What are they, what are those opportunities going to look like? It's right.
Also, what it does for their self-esteem and their well-being to be able to work a normal job where somebody isn't abusing me, where I just get to go and I work and I get a paycheck and I learn how to be responsible. And I mean, because all the you know, there's so much that gets included in not just getting a job, it's getting a job, helping them with their psychological side of things, budgeting, how to run a household, how to parent, but all of that comes into it. But the self-esteem that you get from actually having a job, and then the service industry as well, that, you know, you get to serve people and you get to, what that does emotionally for them is huge. And it's just, it's just a stepping stone, hopefully, for even bigger things in their lives.
You're like speaking my language. I'm pretty sure I have a document somewhere in the vicinity of my laptop where, like, when I first kind of was dreaming about this, I thought I was just going to start a coffee shop as nothing. And I should find it, because, like, I mean, it doesn't look anything like what I'm doing right now, but it looks a lot like a very similar, you know, idea. And I think that's just because this is what the women need. This is what is going to, like, give them a space and give them every chance that there is.
Exactly. And to work somewhere where people understand where they're coming from, and therefore have the patience to invest in them. Because often they have to learn, just like, I mean, I've heard other women that have come out of, you know, the sex industry talk about how I needed to learn how to have normal conversation.
Yeah.
I needed to know like just social etiquette things that in their circles, things that might be okay. It's not going to work in your you know, your workplace and things. But some jobs would be just like, no, you're out. Whereas,
it's like it has to be employment with like this like extra dose of grace on the side, and understanding of like, no, this is literally like why you're here, why we're doing this is not for you to climb the corporate ladder or to make our millions. It is for you to like gain the skills that you need to like live your life, like you know, and like enjoy it.
Exactly.
So what's one thing, or whatever, as many things as you want, but one thing that you have learned about the sex industry through your experiences that you would want other people to understand that maybe don't know much about it? Is there something that's like stuck out to you, like, man, this is something I did not expect, or
something that
a hard one?
I guess it's something that I already knew, but it's something that I really want people to understand, either here and, you know, in Brazil and in other countries. And the fact that none of these girls want to be doing this. Because people get an idea, well, they chose this, they like it, or
some of them like it.
Some of them like it. They must like, no, none of them. I've never met a girl that wants to be doing this kind of work.
Nobody dreams when they're a little girl to grow up and be a prostitute. Nobody or boy, you know. That's not a dream. That's not a thing you want to do. But I think, you know, society, because of how sexualized things are, and things are more sexualized here in Brazil, and pornography, people get a weird idea that, oh no, there's some of them that really like it, they're, you know, they're addicted or whatever. But in our experience, from the women that we have met, not one of them wants to be doing this. Not one.
And that's kind of the interesting thing is, like, even if you know, do come across someone who does say like, yes, like I love what I do, or I like you, or you ask somebody, do you like your job? And they say yes. How many times do you ask, like, any of us, do you like your job? We say yes, and we're like 3 days later we just like hate our lives at our job. Like, it's not to just ask that it's such a surface question that like you can't really gauge where somebody's at on that level of whether or not they actually want it. Like, even if you can get that answer out of somebody, it's so multi-layered that it's like that might be something that is that you feel today, but it's very transient in this.
When it comes to prostitution, because it's involving sex, and people view sex as being something pleasurable, they assume that the girls are gaining some pleasure or some enjoyment out of this, and it's completely opposite. It's just, you know, you're trying to let people understand this is abuse every single day.
Paid abuse.
Somebody's paying to abuse them. That's really all. You know.
And I think, like you said, you know, maybe you might ask one and they might say they like it. Well, the thing that we have to understand is, in order to survive being in that line of work, you have to dissociate. You have to create an entirely different person as an outer layer to like protect the inner person. And so that maybe that outer person has convinced themselves that they like what they do. They're owning it. This is me. But inside, whenever we start, you know, going deeper with these girls and, you know, letting them take off that layer, what you find underneath is not anybody you find somebody who's just like, help, like, get me out of here.
Yeah. I think that's why it's so important to get past just what that surface is. That's why it's important to stick around, and it's important to not just ask, well, do you want to be here? Yeah, cool, peace out. Exactly. You know, like it's like, okay, like, well, tell me what else is going on, and you're like, you know, or what, you know, just to keep going with that, because you don't know really what's going on.
Exactly. And that doesn't happen in a 5-minute conversation.
No.
I mean, we have known some of these women now for 4 years, who 4 years ago told me they wanted out, and 4 years later they're still in. And so that for me is one of the most challenging things, is like, like, you know what I mean? You feel on this side, because, you know, I'm relatively healthy. I'm like, but if you just did this, this, and this, your life could be so much different. If you just, you know, give it to Jesus. And okay, there's a challenging thing here.
Yeah.
So here, like you might find in North America, there's a lot more resistance to talk about Jesus. Well, here you have the opposite. I'm a Christian. All of them say they're Christians. All of them say they've given their heart to Jesus. They read their Bible. They listen to worship music. They feel like they are already there. So then how do you bring somebody into the understanding that if you really are there and you're really, really walking with Jesus, you wouldn't be able to continue with what you're doing. And I mean, you see that once you get women that are, one day we'll see, women that are letting down those layers and that, and letting Jesus actually start working in them. It's different, but I think for a lot of them, they feel like they're already there. So it's hard to even, I'm not explaining it very well.
Well, they also,
it does. No, it makes sense. Like, I know exactly what you're trying to say. And I think it's one of those things where, I mean, you can want something for somebody else so badly, right down to an actual relationship with Jesus that's transformative, but you cannot do it for someone. Like, and I think that's the hard thing is it's like, it's the, like, I want you to be able to experience this kind of freedom, but I can't
do it for you.
Pull you along and make you do it. And I think we can all find ourselves in a similar situation to them of being like, no, like, I'm there, I'm good. Like, me and you, and then it's like, no, you're not. Half the time you're like, right? Like, we're really not so different. And I think that's the thing that the more time you spend with really anyone, you find out how we're really all just trying to figure it out, and same crap, different piles, right? It's just manifesting in different ways. So I just have one final question, because you can tell a lot about a person by how they take their coffee. I call this the 4 W's of the. Oh no, are you about to say you don't drink coffee? Because this conversation.
Are you kidding?
Okay. I was like, I assume that's not true. The 4 W's of coffee. So basically, if you could have your coffee exactly the way you like it, who would you be drinking it with? What would you be drinking? Where would you drink it? And when? Like, time of day, time of year? What's your just like set up for me? The like, this is.
I'm going to go first because my coffee is my ideal coffee is much simpler.
Don't say what I think you're going to say.
I'm a very simple person. I won't even say where I would normally get my coffee from because I get told off for that. But I just like a medium double.
Oh, Phil. We have got to get a roaster and an actual espresso machine.
Jenna's educated me much better in the ways of better coffee. No, I like.
Bless you, Jen.
I do like it with milk. I like it strong. I don't like chafe, as they call it here. When you
have is tea. So
it's
chafe is like
it's like a really weak coffee. No, I like a nice strong coffee with milk, but I do like a couple of sugars in it. And the place and the person, this is going to sound really sappy, but I do love sitting here with Jen. We sit on our porch. We drink coffee every morning.
You guys are cute.
And that's my favorite place to drink coffee.
That's awesome. Jen?
My turn. I think I love just a strong cup of coffee. However, if I'm going to like order something, then I want like a caramel macchiato. And if I could choose anywhere, then I would want to be like, probably like in the Masai Mara, early in the morning, the sun's coming up with this guy because he's never been. With like elephants and giraffes and
we get parrots.
Parrots.
Yeah, parrots are in the elephant family. I think, is that correct?
We get a lot of cats, not big cats, small cats.
We have our cats. It's not quite the same, but if I could pick anywhere to be, I'd be like,
literally anywhere.
That's where I would be, but definitely with him.
But nice save.
You're going to say Brad
That's
Pitt,
awesome.
It didn't work out.
He's getting kind of
He's like, just edit. Newer model. It's fine. Thank you guys so much for doing this.
Thank you.
This has been so good. yeah, I'm not sure how we're gonna edit this into something that people so bless their hearts if they sit down and watch the whole thing. But obviously love both of you and what you're doing, and I cannot wait to like get my butt down there whenever that actually works out and see if we can see if this dream becomes something. I don't know.
I love the connection because we remember like coming over to your place and we're kind of like, well, this is kind of how do we know these guys? But it's interesting we're showing them the video because they're already doing this. They do this in Cambridge.
Showing up to, it's just more of like, you know, we're encouraging each other because we're both in the same.
It was just kind of like, well, this is, and then I wonder where this is going to go.
Yeah.
And so many times in our lives, we've been to things where we turn up going, what? Why are we doing this one? And then it turns into something amazing. So this is very cool. I'm just super excited to see where this ends up going.
Me too.
Yeah, really excited.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks guys.